So, it's been a while since I've made these weapon review videos, but I think it's time for another one. In this episode, I want to talk about a bio-nuke. You probably know already what I'm talking about since that you saw the title, but that's what I'm talking about, Grandmother. And oh boy, I think it's just time to start getting into this. As you presumably know, I'm not talking about your grandmother. I am talking about the Earth Mythic Grandmother. Now, Grandmother's interesting because if you look at its stats, it's got a ton of damage, like a ton, and that's why I call it a bio-nuke. But to counteract that, it's got the highest, or one of the highest, negative health regions on a weapon. And that really limits how you build with it, and also very much changes how you build and possibly even play with it. I'll get to that a bit later on. So when I'm talking about the meta, I mean, first of all, the relevant IDs of the weapon and what people, look after in the weapon. And then secondly, how the weapon should be used and the ways it can be used. So first of all, the relevant stats on Grandmother are obviously the health regen, and more accurately, the raw health regen, because the negative raw health regen is the thing you counter. When you counter health regen in Wynncraft, the way it works is that only the negative raw matters, and then the percentage is applied later. So say you have a negative 400 health regen. If you don't want to have any negative health regen in your build when using it, you would need positive 400 health regen. After that, the negative 20% health regen or something, whatever Grandma has, is applied, but since you have net zero, it doesn't matter. So when you're looking to buy a Grandmother, remember that the most relevant stat on it is the raw negative health regen. There's other stats also, such as negative spell damage and such, but they're not that relevant, especially if you get into Rage Grandmother, which I'll talk about very soon. So in this section, I want to go over how the meta of actually playing Grandmother looks like, as in what sort of builds it's used in. So Grandmother has basically two prominent build archetypes it's used in. It's either Earth, Water, Fire, HPR cancel, so as in you cancel out the HPR and you'll have about freedom level damage, pretty solid. Or alternatively, you can not cancel the HPR and actually take advantage of it using the Rage Armor special, which means that for every percentage of health you don't have, you get 4% or extra earth damage. So basically, if you're at 1% health, you'll have 400% extra earth damage, which basically means you do the most damage possible in the game, with the downside of having only 1 health. Of course, out of the two I mentioned, the more sensible one is EWF HPR cancel. It kind of took a hit in 1.20 because Grandmother actually got a base damage nerf. According to the IMs, it was because of the prominence of HPR cancel and how it was made easier after how HPR worked. But you can still definitely do it. Usually the meta is slapping on Elder Oak Roots and Gaia Hood Boots, which in total cancels out 500 HPR, so unless you have an absolutely awful Grandma, that's totally enough. But if you have a better one, you can get some more damage and spell cost if you use just Aquamarine and Sacramentalia. And it works pretty well. As I said, you get around Freedom level damage if I recall. Of course you don't have the tankiness of Freedom, but that's just because Freedom is absolutely busted. In conclusion, I think Grandmother is a very fun Earth Mythic. It's also one of the better Earth Mythics. I mean, in general, Earth Mythics aren't standing in the best spot in the meta currently, especially compared to Thunder Mythics, which are also, a damage element. I highly recommend picking up a Grandmother if you can. Try out the two very different, very unique playstyles, especially Rage Grandma. Grandmother's pretty cheap as well, and you don't definitely need to have a perfect Grandmother, and if you really want to, you can use Rage Grandma with like the worst HPR Grandma possible, because the HPR doesn't matter, you're going to be at 1 health. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and comment. Tell me what weapon you'd like to see me cover next, and also if you have any opinions on Grandmother, I'd love to hear them. That's about it. Subscribe and see ya.